Az, how you going, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Great to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got footy.
Oh, mate, you got heaps to talk about.
Heaps to talk about. What's been going on with you?
Not much, mate. Not much. Good to be back on the potty. It's been a while, but looks like we're back in the swing of things now, eh?
Yeah, it's been good. Just want to say thanks for giving us a help out and
No
everything
worries,
lately.
mate. No worries.
He's the man behind all the editing and all that crap, you know?
All the cool shit you see in the game. That's me.
Yeah, we're just going to cover a fair bit today, mainly just footy, NRL grand finals, heaps of stuff like that. We're going to talk a bit about concussion, heaps of shit going on. Tell me what's new in your life at the moment, though, mate.
Not much, mate. Just been working. Just been trying to put a bit into this, trying to up the levels of this, and
yeah,
make sure that we're going well, So
yeah, it's been good to get back into it, eh? Like,
yeah, for sure. It's
been it's given me something to do.
Oh,
that's 100%. For sure.
Gives you something to think about.
Gives you something to do. Yeah, so it's obviously been helping me out a lot. Just keep my mind to do something.
Yeah,
for the 6 weeks. Yeah,
be back.
NRL grand final. It's coming up. What do you think? Who's your prediction this year?
Well, you got obviously two sides of it. You got your head, what you think's going to happen, probably will happen, and then you got your heart. So who's left? Penrith, Rabbits, Cowboys, Para. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. So obviously we're Queenslanders. I would love the Cowboys to win. They got Para up in Townsville, so that'll be a good game. And I saw something going around. The last time Para played the Cowboys in a prelim, Cowboys dusted them, didn't they? 29-0,
I remember that. Yeah.
Dusted them 29-0, so...
I was just talking to some person in the gym the other day, and we were talking about that final. Yeah. It's fucking tough going up in Townsville.
Tough going up in Townsville. Time of year. A lot of teams have struggled up there this year, so... At
this time of the year, it's, it's getting hot.
It's hot as fuck.
And who are they playing up there?
Para
down in Sydney, it's cool down there at the moment. So
Para away from home, a different team.
Yeah.
So.
My prediction probably for the NRL grand final is it could be Cowboys are looking shit hot. I know the Cowboys will be in it, but I don't know, Cowboys it's a tough one this year.
It is a tough one.
Obviously the Chooks, my favourite team, got fucking dusted.
They did get dusted by the mighty Rabbits.
By the Rabbits, which is, it was a good game to watch. Absolutely. A lot of the things around Latrell and shit. The sin bin.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it's going to be a Cowboys and, somewhere around a Sydney team, Cowboys and probably Penrith or something like that.
Back in the Cows, but?
Yeah, I'll be back in the Cowboys for sure. I'm a Queenslander.
I hope the Cows win, but like you said, Para, they can show up or they can get pumped, so you never know, but...
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. I'm back in Cows, but I reckon Cows. And
who's your grand finalists?
So
the runners up.
What's the next game? Penrith Rabbits. That's a tough one because Rabbits are shit hot at the minute. And obviously Penrith are Penrith. They're going to be tough to beat no matter who you play. I think they've only lost full squad team 3 games in 3 years or something ridiculous. But
yeah.
So it's hard to see anyone beating them, but if anyone can do it, it's Trelmit.
Trelmit, baby.
So, yeah, I don't know. Grand final, I'll say Riff, Cowboys, and Penrith probably get it done. But
have you seen a change in Latrell's attitude? If you keep watching footy,
oh yeah, 100%.
I reckon he's swifted, 100%. Changed a lot
ever since when he go over to America for the
rehab program,
the rehab stuff. He's came back, and I heard this on a podcast. Almost adopted like the American sports star bravado. He's come back and he's fucking getting into the fans. People heckling him.
Yeah.
Whereas usually, keep quiet, just talk his shit on the field, but he's coming out.
Yeah.
Chatting up all the journos, getting into them as well. So I think it's fucking sick, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's good for the game.
100%.
I've seen a massive shift in Latrell. I've been a massive supporter of him. And,
oh, yeah, for sure.
And, he's just... A niggle, usually you'd see him in a game in the niggle and people usually niggle at him first and usually he has a crack back, but he hasn't been really having a crack. It's just kind of just walking away.
Yep. Just putting points on the board and winning that way. So
yeah, he's definitely shifted.
Oh, 100%. It's good to watch as well. Like someone said, we need more characters in rugby league. So yeah, he's definitely at the forefront of that, I reckon.
Absolutely. With the World Cup, you're going to see him. Are we going to see him in the Australian side?
I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be in there for sure.
With the World Cup predictions of teams, Joseph Suolali has just dedicated his to Samoa.
Yep.
What do you think about that? As in, like he was eligible for Australia.
Yep.
Obviously, it'd be a good win for the Aussies to have him on the field.
Huge loss that he's not obviously putting on the Aussie colours, but I think it's good for rugby league in general that the other teams are getting these big name players and superstars are choosing to represent their heritage rather than
where they started playing footy.
Yeah, just going the easy route and playing for the better teams. I think it's good for the game and it's good for the smaller nations to get there and have a crack.
Joseph Suwali, absolute like one of the biggest guns I've seen come through NRL as a winger.
100%.
I'm not really sure who Samoa has in their
side. Got a good side, man. They've got a good side.
But he was definitely a good plus to that side.
For sure.
He'd be a plus to any side.
Oh, for sure. They'd be buzzing to have him then.
The way he runs is just
for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, for a 19-year-old winger.
Ridiculous. You think back when we're 19, we get rolled by those fucking big boys. So.
Yeah, the World Cup squad. I think Greece has made it in this year as well. Usually they don't. And me mate from Greece, actually, Jordan Meads, who I played footy with at Beerwah, we're actually going to give him a bit of a ring when he's over in Greece. And we'll give him a bit of a ring. I think in a couple of weeks' time he goes over and we'll get him on the potty through the phone. So
watch out for that.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Watch out for that.
To be honest, Greece has a decent side at the moment. They've gotten a few NRL players.
Yep.
Who's that 7? I forgot his name for the Rabbitohs.
But Ilias?
Yeah, I think it's
or Docky Ilias?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, but I know a Rabbits fella has gone over to the Greece side, and Greece rugby league is looking up, and Jordan's done heaps of work. He's captain coach of the Greece World Cup side.
That's insane.
So yeah, big ups to him. Getting back into the World Cup. New Zealand. Obviously another strong side.
Another big side.
Like the people that they get through year to year is good, but I reckon it's just a problem for them. Is just putting it together as a league side.
You can always see they've got the quality. You see a lot of the best players in the comp are Kiwis. Insane players, but like you said, it's always been sort of hard for them to put it together. But I think, do you reckon this year that's going to change?
Look, NZ's always been hard. They've always been, as a rugby league team, they've always looked at dominating on paper.
Yeah.
They've always been good. Like realistically, I see a New Zealand side beating Australia this 100%. Year. But I think Australia are just a little bit more passionate for the jersey at this stage.
Yep.
I reckon. But I reckon they've got a good side this year.
Do you reckon it's a tactical thing?
To be passionate, or
no? In terms of like you say that, and then like you said, the Kiwis have sort of struggled to put it together on the park. Whereas on paper, they have just as good as, if not a better side than Australia.
Than anyone in the World Cup.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it's more of a management side of things, or like I don't know how to say this, like Australia are sort of setting a system, they know how they're going to play, whereas the Kiwis, maybe it's more of a throw together sort of thing. It's just sort of get all the best players that we can.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I understand where you come from.
How they're going to play on the park sort of thing.
Well, that's it. You got to pick a team that's going to gel together.
That's right.
They pick all their decent players from NZ, but are they the people that really want it? If you picked a younger fella that's just been working his ass off, but it hasn't really been.
Yeah, that's right.
Playing that good of footy, that's true. It could be a tactical thing, but yeah, I see them. I reckon they'll give it a good.
I hope they go well. I reckon they'll go well, but
it'd be good for rugby league to see that.
Sure. All the gun players are, always Kiwi, so be good to see them have a good crack and, maybe a semi-final, maybe even a final. Australia, New Zealand final, how insane would that be?
That'd be all right. I'm pretty sure I knocked my shoulder out on a Kiwi, so...
Is that why you don't really rate them, mate?
Yeah, but yeah, the World Cup is shaping up to be pretty good this year.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty keen for it.
Footy plans, rehab for me this year.
Is it a good topic?
Good topic. I'll get my sling off on Monday.
Monday?
Yeah. I could take it off now if I wanted to. I'm feeling good as gold.
What's the go? Is it healed up or?
You stuck your shoulder in the sling for 6 weeks. Pretty much do nothing.
Yep.
Realistically, they don't tell you to do any machine weights, no nothing at all. kind of just fucking do nothing. But, you know, you got to bend the rules sometimes, and I've just been, you know, doing a bit of machine weights at the gym and stuff when I can. But, like out of the sling on Monday, get back into rehab and get some strength back in my shoulder, get some stability.
Yep. How's it feeling?
Look, it's all right. I think I've treated the rehab progress in the sling this time round, whereas compared to last year.
Because that's the same shoulder you've previously done, right?
It's the opposite shoulder, but same injury.
Oh, right.
So this time around, I've taken it a little bit more seriously, whereas I was a bit more last year leeway with the sling. I'd, take it off and maybe leave it out for half an hour or whatnot, but last specialist appointment, they were really on me about keeping it in my sling, and they want the most stable shoulder they can get and making it the tightest shoulder it gets so it doesn't happen. So if you keep your shoulder in the one spot for the whole time, sleep with it on, eat with it on, do life with it on, you're going to get the tightest shoulder and you're going to get the best shoulder out of it. So that's what I've been really focused on this time round, is just keeping it in the sling as long as I can.
So what's the next step after you get it out the sling? What's the process from there?
Well, for this process here, you go see your physio. Usually you can take it off with them on the day that you get it off. You start doing some exercises. I'm going to see the physio and an exercise physiologist. So I do, like the nitty gritty stuff with the physio, as in like we do Pilates and shit, like weird stuff like that. A lot of resistance stuff, not really anything weight, just kind of get it back in. You probably do that for 2 weeks, and then on the 2 weeks, I go with the head S&C coach at Norse. He's runs the movement standard over in Milton, and he's been my coach for a while now. He tests everything. He wants your shoulder to be as stable as it can ever be, and he puts you in awkward positions. So if I ever make a tackle or land on my front with my arm out in front of me or something like that it's going to stay there. Like putting those abnormal things in, that's what he's good at. So he puts you down. They're called ash plates. You push down on them to test how much force you're producing and stuff like that. Like, he's a really smart dude, really switched on. So that's the process for rehab. And to get back to playing footy, you're looking at March, April next year for contact wise and stuff. But it'll come around pretty quick, I reckon.
It's good to hear, mate. Good to hear you be getting back into it soon.
Yeah, well, that's it. Plans for next year, I don't really know as well. To be honest, probably 30 minutes prior to this podcast, I got sacked by my manager.
Really?
Yeah. Which is pretty heartbreaking for me. I've been here with him for probably 3 years. Yeah, probably 3 years on the dot now. And I won't lie, like, he was a good bloke and he was really good and stuff. But those 3 years that I was with him, I should have been with him the 3 years beforehand. Like, I only got him when I was 17, 18, when I was making the move over to Brizzy and stuff. But ever since I've come here, it's either been COVID, back-to-back injuries, and as a manager's point of view, like, I don't blame him, to be honest. Like, I haven't played much footy collectively, probably only played 14 games in the last 2 years. So at that point of view, I reckon, like, I can't really blame him, to be honest. But I'm pretty cut up about it. It's just a part of the process. But
as you would be, part of the game, like you said. But what's the move from here? Is it sort of like got to find another bloke, or you just have a crack on your own?
Look, I was talking to my mate just before, and he said, "What did he do for you?" And, like, I couldn't really give him a straight answer, to be honest. Like, he kind of just managers are made to shift you around and stuff like that, and they're more there for you. They're going to be your best mate when you're dealing with contracts, dealing with pre-seasons, when teams want you. Like, the last few months, like, for me, it gives you the cold shoulder a bit. You don't really hear from them. But whereas I want a manager, and I know there's managers out there that support you mentally, physically, on and off the field. So I'm just going to be looking around for a bit more of a better bloke, probably someone a bit smaller company that takes pride in their players. Solely just because, the last bloke that I was with, he probably had more than 100 kids signed. And, like, he's, I've just probably got to find someone that, looks at you as a person, not just for your footy. So I'll just, yeah, look, I love Norths and stuff and all that, but I'm looking at making a move somewhere a bit different. I'm not really sure yet, but yeah, that's where I'm at the moment with footy.
Yeah, right. So not entirely sure whether you'll be at the same club next year.
Yeah. It's a weird situation that I'm in right now. Like where you don't know where you're going to play. That's cool. That's why I like it. Bouncing around clubs and stuff and trying to get your best foot in the door. Like that's a good part of it to me. Like I love that, exhilarating, and I love the challenge. So, whatever comes next comes next.
That's right. So, in terms of finding a new team, I know in other sports, say soccer, it's more or less of you find a team, you go trial for them. They might have open trials.
Yeah.
What's the process in footy? Is it more you get talking to a coach or players? Is there like open trial sorts of deals, or what's the go there?
So if anywhere up to under 21s footy, you can go open trials. Whereas that be just round robin competition. Bunch of boys coming in just giving it a crack. When I was 18, 19, moving into Brisbane, I did heaps of open trials, just to get me on the map, play footy. Like I did open trials for the Sunshine Coast Falcons over to, sunny coast. I said that. Sunny Coast. Where's the other? At North. I did an open trial at North when I was coming through there. And, as a manager, that's what you want them for, so you don't have to do that open trial shit at that age. Like, to me, it's just a risk of injury.
Yeah.
I didn't really like doing them, but that's the process you go through up until under 21s.
Yeah.
The age group that I'm in now, I've finished under 21s. It's probably the hardest, to crack through.
Yeah.
There's not really any open trials for like Host Plus Cup or, there's no open trials for an NRL side or anything like that. Whereas this year, actually, I've seen the Ipswich Jets have just opened an open trial for Host Plus Cup, which is very rare.
Yep.
And that means they're looking for players, like they're a bit desperate for players and whatnot. So that's the first I've ever seen of the Host Plus Cup. Trial. Like Host Plus Cup leads into the NRL. You rarely see that.
Yeah.
In a Host Plus Cup side. So that's what it's like coming through the rugby league system. You do your open trials up until 21 or whatnot for Hastings Deering Colts or Malmaninga Cup, but you rarely see an open trial for Host Plus Cup. You either have to come through your BRL side that affiliates with that, and maybe get picked, try your luck. But that's it. That's how it usually works. And if you get picked up, you get picked up. But it's a lot more beneficial if you have a manager, that's for sure.
So I guess that's what you would say. A benefit of a manager is it sort of gets you a foot in the door.
Yeah, it gets you
somebody representing you. Yeah, whereas if you're on your own, like you said, you're just doing your trials. Yeah, hoping somebody spots you.
Well, that's it. That's the main benefit of them. They talk you up, and especially if you're with a good mob. Yeah. That's has heaps of blokes signed. They're doing a good job. That's the main reason behind them. But managers, I've heard a lot of people say you don't need them. Yeah. Some managers charge you money. Good managers sometimes don't even charge you anything at all. So, I might just put my foot in the door in a few places and see what they reckon at this stage. So
that's all you can do, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. Have a crack.
Yeah. What about you, mate? What's on the goal for soccer? You've finished up?
Yeah, we're finished up for the year. So it was actually we're not finished up. So we played our last game for club last week in the grand final, which we got up.
Yeah, that's good.
Got up on pens.
Yeah.
Always a nervous way to finish a game, but thankfully the boys got through. So
yeah, that's gone.
Yeah, that was really good. Been building up to that for a couple of years. We, came up to Division 1 as that, fresh 18-year-olds, and it was sort of tough couple of first years, but we all sort of stuck together and had a crack, and all the work finally paid off. So just coming off the high of that.
Yeah, that'd be going. How was you get a silly Sunday or a mad Monday with soccer? Or
a couple of beers after the game, but nothing much as of yet. But I'm sure the club presentation's going to be a big one. So looking forward to that. But next week, actually, a couple of the boys in a representative side. So it's a nationals competition. So a few of the boys from our side and the surrounding regions teams sort of come together for a representative team representing the state.
Yeah, right.
That's up at the sunny coast next week, actually. So buzzing to go up there. We'll be playing a men's comp, and there's a 21s comp So we'll be playing like teams like New South Wales, Victoria. I think there's a Kiwi team as well.
Fuck, that's not bad.
So yeah, just been training a fair bit for that, getting into that. So yeah, we've got a good squad. So looking forward to it.
That's going to be mad. So what team gets picked out of that?
Well, it's not necessarily a team. They do an all-star sort of side.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Competition. They'll do a team of the year, but it's more so just a team of the tournament sort of thing. There's no Australian team or anything like that. That'd be cool. Looking forward to that.
That's good, mate.
Yeah, it hasn't been able to happen the past couple of years, like you said, COVID and things like that. They usually try and like first one I went to in under 18s was in Sydney.
Yeah.
So they try and put it all over the map. They've had a couple of ones in NZ. So
where'd you say this one was?
So it's down the sunny coast at Palmview, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Over the long weekend next weekend, Friday to Monday, we'll be playing games. So.
Yeah, right. So a few teams go to that.
Yeah. Well, we've got 7 or 8, I think, including us. So there'll be Victoria, New South Wales, City, Country, WA. So yeah, it's quite a big tourney. So.
That'll be mad.
Buzzing. Yeah. Should be
That's
good.
heaps good. There'll be a fair party after that, surely.
Oh, mate. I won't say too much, but it should be good.
And you said an all-stars team gets picked out of that. So that's just, you don't play.
No, it's more so just a recognition from the referees of the team of the tournament sort of thing. Okay. So
that's cool.
It'd be good to get into that. So do my best, have a crack. So see how I go.
Good on you, mate. You've had a pretty good year this year. I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
Came and watched you. Where were you playing? You were playing up here.
Northside, North Pine, I think.
Yeah, you were playing North Pine, eh? It was my first game that I watched Aaron play, actually. And, I'm no soccer man, but, it was pretty good fun, It's probably my first game of soccer I've ever watched. Yep. Sat up there in the beer garden and watched Aaron kick a few goals, get angry with a few blokes.
That's all I do. Get angry.
Bit of a shit kicker on the field. You can be the biggest shit kicker on a soccer field, eh?
Chatting shit, coaches love you.
Any blues in soccer?
Yeah, there's a lot of niggly stuff. Never really punch-ons, but blokes in your ear. It's probably the same as footy. Might go a bit further, sometimes, but yeah, it's just competitiveness, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, it was a good game to watch, that game, actually. I don't know. I think you guys are getting up dusted, I think.
Yeah,
but
5-3, I think.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to watch. I've never seen soccer or anything. I've been around the culture of soccer. It's definitely a lot different compared
for sure.
to rugby league, and it was good to get out. But yeah, it was cool.
That's the same. Like, I've been getting into me footy a lot the last couple of years.
You should start playing footy.
I always said I'd be a good footy player. I reckon I'll get creamed. But
I'm sure you'd be a good centre, or maybe, I don't know, how good are you with your hands?
I'd like to think I'm alright, but a few blokes might say otherwise.
Yeah,
might need to put a few more pounds on that.
I don't know, if Nick Teskey can play, anyone can play. He's only weighs like fucking 50 kilos.
He can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. Now, a little topic that we wanted to did cover, like we'll cover, is how's league evolutionised from the 80s, 90s to 2000s. One of the things we wanted to talk about was if league was still in the 80s, 90s and 2000s, kind of still did have the same rules, same culture today. What would you think it would be like if, we were still in that era of, fucking no gym, not really any programming. It just kind of was playing footy and drinking piss and getting in blues on the field. What do you think league would be like if that was still around, when we're playing footy or even soccer, like it's obviously a lot changed and it's evolutioned heaps, but what do you reckon it'd be like if we were still in that era?
Well, obviously you see the videos of the old footy games and you're through the 80s and 90s and all the stuff that they used to get up to. You hear all the stories, like a lot of the older players have come out, on podcasts, things like that, and said the stuff they used to get up to before and after games. So you just wonder all the hectic stuff that they did on the field. Imagine what they could have done with all the things we've got these days, the programs, like you say, the technology, the knowledge, the nutrition, things like that. So it just makes you wonder how good those blokes would have been. But I think if it were to stay like that, and we never sort of progressed into a more professional sort of era, you wouldn't have your players like your freaks, your James Tedesco's, your just blokes like that just the things they do week in, week out wouldn't be possible. So I think that all in all it's a good thing, but sometimes it's good to have, like you said, the Rabbitohs Roosters game the other week. Blokes just running 100 mile an hour at each other, you know, fucking punching on. But
there was no rules in that game.
Yeah, 100%. It's like that's always a spectacle, and you love to see games like that because it makes you reminisce of the older games and the, you know, the sort of nostalgia that comes with it.
That game, the Rabbitohs and the Roosters, that was a UFC match.
That was a UFC match. Was it 7 sin bins all up?
Yeah, 7 or 6 sin bins all up.
That's got to be a record.
That was a record, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, it was a record, I think. But as you said, you know, with all the things you've got now, imagine if, you know, they had the technology back then. Playing footy, you know, like all that, you know, the evolutionised rugby league programming and stuff. If they had all that back then, would players buy into it? That's another
thing. It's obviously took the decades of years to go on for the whole culture of the game to change, and the players, you know, it wasn't an overnight thing for sure. It's a gradual sort of build to it, but like you said, it's gone with the times as well. You know, half the stuff you did back then, you definitely can't do now. You know, even Mad Mondays are coming a thing of the past soon. So
who banned that? Dragons banned that. Bagged even like they banned even like going out for a drink, like just a quiet drink at the bar. If they got caught, but you know, shit was on the line. I don't get that.
You gotta. I get like you said, the PC culture, things like that, but you gotta let the boys let the hair down.
Exactly,
you know, in some way.
That's how a lot of, you know, teams and stuff, that's how they bond.
100%.
You know, as weird as it sounds, you like getting on the sauce and on the beers and all that stuff with your mates, especially in a footy team, it only brings the boys closer together.
100%.
And I think that's what a lot of young teams are lacking nowadays. Yep. I know, like on paper, it doesn't. Oh, let's get the boys together for a piss up on the beers. You know, for bonding and stuff. You know, it's a lot. The times have changed with that, but the tightest I've ever been with this team is when, you know, you have a few beers and you don't talk footy after the game. You know, you have a few beers, you go down to the bar or the pub or something, and you know that's where I reckon you make your lifelong mates. 100%. Like you play footy and stuff with them. You know, that's just footy. You know, it's a lot more than footy. The game, it always has been. So I don't really agree with the whole ban thing on the Dragons. I don't know. But the coach brought that. I don't know who's coaching at the moment, but even if he's still coaching after that call, that's fucking terrible. Yeah.
Do you reckon it's a coach call, or do you reckon it's more a club thing?
Like, I know when I've been in particular rugby league teams where they don't, you know, tolerate getting on the piss all the time. Yep. Like if you got caught out on the beers and stuff, you know, sometimes you get a slap on the wrist for it here and there. You'd probably get a talking to. That's not what we're about. This is what the club's culture is about. You know, we don't want you to, especially, you know, players get caught out drinking piss and doing other things, you know, in like a Norse polo or anything like that. If you're wearing any team's polo, you know, I respect that. You don't go out and get on the piss in your North polo with a bunch of random blokes or your team polo or your soccer team or whatever. You don't go out and do that. But I don't. I think more so it's it's probably from a club perspective. You know, sure. I'm sure every rugby league coach would condone, you know, having a good time and whatnot. So. Yeah, I reckon it's more of a club thing. It probably wouldn't have come from the head coach. It probably would have come from someone else in the office, I reckon.
Oh, it'd have to be. It'd have to be, especially with, you know, these days the club image and social media, things like that. Yeah. You never know who's watching, so you can understand from that point. And you know, the media is such a powerful thing. You know, your club's in turmoil on the news. It's hard for the boys to focus, I suppose. So you can see where they're coming from that angle, but you got to have some form of release.
Yeah, and there's also got to be a sense of pride and stuff from the players as well. For sure. Like, as if you want to, you know, get naughty and fucking get on the piss with the boys, no better spot than doing it at your mate's place in a safe environment. You know, where you can, you know, kick back and, you know, watch the footy, talk shit as much as you want. No one's going to hear you unless if you're with someone, with all your mates. So I reckon, don't condone not the Mad Monday thing or anything like that. It brings boys together. So 100%. Yeah, I reckon for sure. Like, what do you reckon the Mad Mondays were like back in the day?
Be some hectic stuff, I'm sure. There'd be probably a lot of things you wouldn't be able to repeat on camera. So
even the rules in footy back then, you know, they've changed and evolutionised a lot at the moment. And recently we're seeing a lot of, you know, older players coming through with a lot of concussion issues, and you know, the recent one is Mario Fenech, a recent like an old timer Rabbitohs player, absolute gun on the field if you've seen anything of his videos, but he's been recently diagnosed with you know, part dementia, like short term, he forgets a lot of things and stuff, and that's basically from concussion playing rugby league. If he didn't play rugby league, he'd probably be fine. So what do you think like that? Apparently the Rabbitohs gave him a little bit of a going away. The NRL gave him a little bit of a going away when he left league. He was such a big part of the game, but ever since this has happened, I've heard, you know, a lot of speculation about he hasn't been supported as a, you know, like he played the game for a long time, but I heard he's not really been supported from the NRL or his, you know, recent, you know, clubs or anything like that. He's helped a lot of clubs. So what do you think about that with Mario? He's massive part of the game, and he's got nothing at the moment. You know, they're struggling.
Well, like you said, when you're back in the day, there would have been who knows how many head knocks on a field, and you know, if you're back on your feet, you're back on your feet, you're ready to go. Unless you're out cold, you're still playing footy. So, you know, I'd say a lot of those blokes probably go through similar sort of things, and maybe don't even realise, just due to the lack of knowledge around the subject. So, yeah, a lot of people, you know, blow up about the HIA stuff and the, you know, ruins the game. You know, first minute your best player gets sent off, but I think it's definitely a necessary thing to, you know, you don't want to muck around with your head. I don't know. It's a tough game, you know, for tough blokes, and you got to be like that to play the game and play it well. But like you said, seeing that on the news and seeing, you know, what he's sort of gone through, and he's not an old bloke, like you said. He's only, I'm not too sure exactly.
He's 55 to 60. I know that. Like that's younger than my old man.
You shouldn't be getting dementia at that age. No way. So it's a horrible thing, and if you don't try your best to try and prevent that when you are playing footy, you got no hope. Once the damage is done, the damage is done. You can't repair your brain, you know what I mean? So it's a tough one.
You reckon it's another part thing of genetics? Like my old man, you know, he played a lot of hard footy in his day.
Yep.
And, you know, he doesn't really show many signs of, you know, he's getting old, I know that, but you reckon it could be a thing of genetics as well? Like Mario could have just had a bad genetic in his brain where like he was, you know, prone to getting concussed and dementia, and maybe it ran in his family or whatever. I don't know if it's, you know, inheritable or anything like that. I'm not a doctor, but it could be genetically, you know, for him, but like it's really sad for him to be going through that at that age, which brings me to, you know, I saw an article the other day Phil Gould put out on his Twitter. He said he had a Penrith coach come to him with a full piece of paper saying, you know, if we should bring the 10 metre rule, getting back on side, bring it back to the 7 or 5 metre rule where you have to retrieve on side. Do you think that would slow the game down, concussion wise, even the pace of the game? What do you think of that?
Well, I think just looking at it logically, obviously if you're running from a closer distance rather than a further back distance, it's probably going to reduce the amount of force you're going to hit the line with. So just thinking of it like that, there's definitely a reason as to why that could, you know, stop your head knocks and things like that. But you take a look at it from a different view, and like you said, slowing the game down, that's definitely going to impact the game in other ways in terms of maybe watchability, entertainment, all sorts of things like that. But you could look at it another way. Like, if you were to take all of the head knocks that have probably occurred this year, years before, how many times that's just been directly from a front rower running straight up on the line? Yeah. Or, you know, how many times has it been from that and maybe other forms of play? Like, I don't reckon it's always coming from just the straight hits on the line. No. It's definitely, like you look at Trell's hit on Joey Manu. Yeah. That's nothing to do with the line. That's a last ditch tackle from a fullback onto the centre.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's always going to be head knocks in the game. There's never going to be a way you can fully eradicate it. But
I reckon bringing it back to the 5 and 7 metre rule would be beneficial to that.
Oh, for sure.
Like you see some, you know, some teams play a structure, like Jared Wayahaga, he runs on the little ball like from 10, 15 metres back, like he's winding up to it.
Yeah.
And then you also got that extra 10 metres for the defence. So it's 25 metres in between them, and they have 25 metres to build up and hit that force. So if you had blokes only retreating 5 metres in the defensive line, it brings it back down to like 15 metres.
Yeah.
Whereas the collision would be a lot quicker. Like you would collide with players quicker, but the impact would be so much less.
That's right.
Like, would the game go soft, or would it be still pretty hard? You see, Union players. I watched the Bledisloe Cup not long ago, and I was looking at, there's not really a defensive line in Union. It's just kind of like where the ruck is. Like, I don't know much about Union, but there's hardly the collisions aren't as big unless they're coming back from 25 meters onto the ball or whatever. So, and if you're taking just a ruck up in Union, you got sometimes 1 meter that you just run into and you just fall over and you play the ball on, and you hardly see any collisions like rugby league in Union. As I said, if there's like a big run up. So I reckon bring like the evolution of that. It'd be beneficial, but it would slow the game down a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
would you say there'd be less head knocks in? I don't know the statistics or whether this is true or not. Would you say there'd be less head knocks and concussions from Union compared to league?
Absolutely. I see in a rugby league game now, you see at least 3 HIAs.
That's right.
You see probably 3 HIAs. Maybe 1 doesn't come back. The 2 just maybe they're just taking precautions and doing the right thing. But on the field, like a lot lately. Me and the old man were watching a game not long ago. There's an on-field test that you have to do when you go off for a HIA. If you fail that on-field test, you got to go and do the actual test in the sheds. If you fail the on-field test, I've seen plenty of trainers, I've been let go by a trainer as well. Like, on the field, you're not okay. You just want to play footy. You see it let go. By a lot of traders in the NRL too, I reckon. I've seen it on TV where they do the on-field test, and he's not looking. He got up a bit shook, and they do the on-field test, and they don't they don't take him off for a HIA. Like around that, does the ref get a say in that? Do you think that should be something that they should be talking about? Because a lot of people are getting away with it at the moment.
Do you reckon it's a tactic of teams that say if your team's down 6 with 10 to go, your best player, say your 7 goes down with a HIA, and it's sort of borderline whether he should come off, whether he should go on, but deep down you probably know he's not sweet. Yeah. Do you reckon teams are sort of pushing their player to stay on?
Oh, when I look at it that way, bloody oath. Like, if it's an Origin game, I remember a game when Cleary, he wasn't too shit hot, even, with his head and his shoulder as well. Like, they keep him on, Sometimes they're just treating it as a normal injury. Like, you can play on with a normal injury. We've seen players play on with injuries that are, detrimental to their career and keep playing footy. Why isn't it the same with a head knock, So, and it's a lot more important, I believe, concussion around the game. So, yeah, I reckon it's definitely a tactic, especially if the game's on the line.
That's right. Well, do you reckon, in support of that, do you reckon you'd see, say, Boyd Corner, for example, had to retire head knocks, too many head knocks? Yeah. Players like Luke Keary, your Kalen Pongers, who's been ruled out for, months at a time due to too many head knocks. Do you reckon you'll see more players sort of medically retire from the game earlier in their career for a safety sort of reason, rather than
safety concern? Yeah, I reckon we'll see it a lot more, to be honest. I'm sure as hell when I watched that Mario Fenech documentary the other day on Channel 7, it makes you scared. You want to be running around with your grandkids remembering shit. I remember that's the one thing that it worried me the most. And you might see players, medically retire at a young age, mainly because of concussion. It's something. It's a question you ask yourself: is it really worth it? Is it really worth getting concussed playing the game? If you're a short bloke and you're going up against a tall bloke, you're bound to get a high tackle here and there. And the more high tackles you get, the more years you play. You're just going to keep getting more of them. So I reckon we'll see a lot more of people medically retiring because of neurological issues and stuff like that.
Especially with all the more cases and research, like you said, back in the day, there would have been so many players that would have had concussions that they wouldn't have even known, just would have kept playing footy. Whereas nowadays, you've got all that information out there. You've got all the, you know, sort of resources you need to sort of know when you've been concussed, the sort of methods you need to take to, you know, what you need to do after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree that, you know, more players are way more conscious of it, and there's definitely going to be blokes that are maybe copped a few and just thought, as you know, is this worth it?
And the worst part is when you're out on the field and you do get a head knock, you don't think of any of this shit. No. You don't think of, fuck, you know, this is going to be detrimental to, you know, when I retire or anything. You don't think of any of that shit. No. You just want to play footy, and that's the worst part about it. Like, the first thing you did back in the 80s and 90s when you got knocked out is you'd have to take the next run. Yeah. That was literally a rule. I swear, I heard Vatty Fortin say it on the footy show. Yeah, actually, that was like a rule. If you were a part of a team, that was the next thing you had to do is, you know, get up and take a run straight after you've been knocked out, you know. But yeah, we're definitely going to see a lot more people
100%.
retire. With now that, as you said, that like everyone knows about it and there's a lot of information about it now. You know, like the exercises that we do as a concussion protocol that we have to do, that S&C trainers like do, and is like they give you exercises to like strengthen your neck, whereas, you know, you put a resistance band around your forehead and you like hold your head straight and like keep the resistance there, you know. To be honest, a lot of the boys think it's a load of shit. You know, I don't know. What do you think of that? Like, there's a lot of evolutions around the rehab programs and the S&C programs with that. Strengthening the neck, they reckon, you know, the sides of the neck, you put it on the side of your neck and you get it pulled from that way or that way. You know, like, I'm pretty sure that's mostly for like if you fall down and your neck has the strength to like lift it back up before it hits the ground and stuff. So that's cool on that, but I think it, you know, do you reckon it would work? Like, there's got to be science behind it if they're doing
100%. And that's another point. Like you said, with injuries, especially head knocks, there's so much more information and things like that out there where there is sort of, you know, precautions you can do and exercises you can do to strengthen those muscles, even when they maybe have already previously been hurt. Yeah. You can do sort of preventative things like that to sort of stop it. And even when you do, like you said, you get a head knock or even other injuries, like how many ACLs, you know, blokes would have done back in the day, and they just would have been fucked because nobody knows how to, you know, there wouldn't have been the right medical sort of procedures to go through. But I definitely have, I don't know if you've seen on Joe Rogan, Mike Tyson, he spoke a lot about back in the day, he would do those exercises.
Yeah, I think I did.
Jaw, because obviously when you get punched in the fucking head. Yeah. If the force comes from the brain hitting the skull, so when you're getting your head popped back, if you're able to brace yourself, you know, better than say another bloke, you're not going to cop as much damage on the brain, because all the concussion is your brain shaking around in your head.
I do remember that podcast actually. He said something that.
He was real big on it.
He was real big. He rated it a lot. Obviously, he's having problems.
Oh, yeah. You're a boxer. You're bound. No matter how much fucking work you do, you're going to get punched in the head. So.
Yeah, well, that's the game, isn't it? Oh, well, the fight.
That's right.
That's exactly what, you know, the sport is, getting punched in the head. But yeah, the evolution of rehab programs around even just not around concussion, just... you know, as I said, I'm seeing an exercise physiologist for my shoulder. You know, you pay top dollar for these blokes.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have had that back in the day.
You wouldn't have had that back in the day.
That's right.
Was exercise physiology even a thing back in the day?
Oh, that's another question.
Like, what bloke would have wanted to study exercise phys back in the day? Like,
yeah, well, you just got footy blokes fucking on the piss. They think they want to get better, mate. They just want to play footy.
Yeah, they just want to play footy. So, realistically, you know, that's really cool, all the evolution around rehab programs, although that's great and stuff. And I don't really think, that it's only going to get better too. That's I reckon, you know, the science just keeps coming out, the technology gets better, you know, a lot of things are tracked, you know, weight, everything. Back in the day, you hardly got tracked and on anything. It didn't really matter. Yeah. You know, the rugby league's diet was beer and a fucking meat pie, like at half time and shit. So, yeah, it's definitely evolutionised in that way.
100%.
Definitely. Just to give it a bit of an end, we've got a bit of plans for the pod coming up. Yep. I know Aaron's been working his ass off for me, for free, which has been really good. The videos are mad. They're real cool. But plans for the pod in the future, I'm more also just trying to get more people on.
100%. I think that's the future for the pod as well. Getting guests and like people from your world, you know, footy players, young fellas coming up, older blokes that have played, even in talks with, you know, some NRLW players, female players. So just to get a whole different angle on the game and sports in general, I think that's definitely our go. Yeah,
that's the, you know, like I don't really want to get, you know, fucking all rugby league players on. I don't want to, you know, make it that kind of podcast. Like, well, I want to make it so we can talk about anything.
100%.
You know, like there's a lot of different angles of life that you can look at, and you know, you don't get it just by looking at it yourself. You got to put yourself in those people's shoes, and that's why, you know, I'm so passionate about it at the moment. Is like you see a lot of different things just by talking to other people. So yeah, even, you know, with Taylor jumping on soon, you know, getting to see what it's like. Like I've never talked to a female rugby league player in depth about that shit, and I want to see what it's like, you know, and it'll open a lot of people's eyes. I don't think I've even heard a podcast with an NRLW player on it. I don't think.
Oh, I'm really not too sure. Yeah, whether I mean, I'm sure they've definitely done it before, but like you said, it would be good to hear what goes on there and the process of that side and stuff that they deal with, whether it's similar or, you know, to the sort of stuff that goes on here.
Yeah, in men's rugby league, you know, and what's it like coming through?
That's right.
As a league player, you know. You know, she started off playing union, like, you know, and she originally did athletics before that. And the reason why she got into contact sport is because she was just, you know, too angry. And, you know, there's girls out there like that, and I respect it, you know. It's cool, like, that they want to do that. What do you think, though, about the NRL dub competition? It goes for 3 rounds, and then you got finals. I'm seeing some good rugby league come out of the NRLW competition lately. And I've even seen a few little articles here and there about, you know, should it be upgraded to a 10-round competition, or should it be, you know, upgraded to a 24-round competition like the NRL? What do you think about that?
Well, obviously now that you know, more eyes are coming onto the sport and women's sport in general, obviously more teams are building to get those women's teams. Like, I'm pretty sure next year more teams are coming in. Next year, you know, more teams on top of that. So the way I reckon it'd go real well is, like you said, expand to where every team's got a women's team in the comp. Yeah. And then keep it, you know, make it the however many rounds it is, you know, and whack it on. Say you've got your rugby league joy, you run around men's teams. Yep. Why not put them on before the men's games?
Exactly. Like, how many teams are in the NRL dub? There are only like 7 or 8.
I'm not sure. That's like you said at the start.
I don't think it's 16. There's not 16 teams in it.
Oh, no way. But yeah. So you can understand why they need their own sort of comp outside of the normal fixtures. But I think that would be sick if they go that way. And eventually, in 5-10 years' time, it's you know, like the same as the NRL. Like
the first season when the NRLW came out, I didn't really like the footy quality. Was, you know, I loved seeing them having a crack and that, but you know, the footy quality wasn't there. But I reckon, and I didn't think it was going to get any better. But I've seen a massive step
100%
in talent coming through with young girls playing rugby league, even any sport. You know, I've seen a massive step in, you know, performance and stuff. You know, like they're out there hitting just as hard as, you know, any other rugby league player is. You know, sometimes it's even better footy to watch. You know, it's good to see, to be honest. Whether it be like a 24-round competition, the main reason I think they only have a 3-round competition that is finals, and they have it at the back end of the year, is because more people are going to watch it. Solely because, you know, women's rugby league hasn't been around that long at a professional level, and I think that's why they put it at the end of the season. Is, you know, you get broadcasted to a lot more people. You know, people are going to sit down and watch it before the big semi-final, you know, this weekend and stuff. People are going to sit down and watch, you know, an NRLW or whatever, and, you know, I reckon it'll inspire a lot of young women as well.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Playing footy, coming through, you know. There wasn't very good pathways back in the day for women in league, so it's great to see, to be honest.
100%, and like you said, with the more teams that come through, more eyes will be on the sport, more people will come through wanting to play. So I think it's only good for the women's game.
Yeah, absolutely. With the plans for the pod in future, we'll get onto this topic. Now, I've been really deeply thinking about, getting the T-shirts going and stuff like that. Kind of just getting an emblem out there for people to wear, and it might be a bit more advertising as well if you see a bloke in the gym wearing a potty shirt that says our name on it. I reckon that's a huge step for us. I'm really looking at getting into it. What do you reckon 100%. About that for us?
Well, every great brand, or like you said, podcast has got merchandise and things like that for supporters and people who want to help the show out in other ways and things like that. So it's definitely a step we're going to take soon. So
I
keep your eyes out for that. Buzzing for that.
That'd be cool. Like I want to start off with just T-shirts.
100%.
Eventually get little shit like key rings and stuff like that, but I reckon T-shirts and down the track shorts afterwards, that'd be sick. That'd be mad to have.
So many things you can do. You look at all different sort of brands out there. Everything,
and then maybe even start something else up off the back of it. I had a bit of a goal in mind, whereas sometime like down the track, like start doing a bit more media stuff, not just podcasts. Like we've been getting into the videos and stuff a bit lately, which is mad. But YouTube vlogs and then you got your own clothing line. There's heaps of opportunities just with one podcast. So that's what I'm really excited 100%. About. You can branch out with so many different options with podcasts. If anyone wants to have it a crack, it's a great avenue to be honest.
So is that a YouTube channel coming soon then, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Been sorting out a YouTube channel actually lately. But I think I just, get a decent camera, get it all properly. But I like the little reels we're doing on Instagram. I think people 100%. Are real liking them. It gives a real insight on, what you talk about and what it looks like,
That's right.
There's a lot of podcasts that are mainly just videos now and whatnot. So it's definitely been good. But
definitely an avenue to go down. So keep your eyes out for the videos coming soon.
Anyways, mate. Well, it was great to have you on today. We fucking had a good yarn today. We covered a lot of things. Great, and like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Obviously the YouTube channel is coming out soon, which is mad. And a lot more other things too. New podcast coming with Taylor Maapulsa, if that's her last name. I really don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry, Taylor, if you're listening, but fucking it's hard for me to pronounce. But it was good to have you on today. It was really good to catch up with you, and for you to make the trek over and
it's good to be back.
Talk a bit of shit and talk footy and stuff. So cheers for having us on, Az.
No worries, bro. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.